Okay.
We did it.
I think we're good, but we're a couple minutes late. Sorry, everybody. Oh, I gotta change the color of the lamp because I just used that color for the video that I recorded this week.
Oh,
it's no good.
Cheater.
How's it going, everyone? So, welcome to the Platinum Member September live Q&A hangout session. The last video that I will ever stream or record from this office.
Wow.
I've been here for 3 years. I haven't been using it as a studio for 3 years. I only started recording here, what was it, like a couple years ago? Because I was doing it at my house forever, right? And then in the old offices before that when I very first started. But yeah, I'm going to be moving home, which I'm a little bummed about because I actually really like this space, but it's just too expensive. It doesn't make sense. I've got the space in my house.
Yeah.
So
what are you gonna do? You're gonna go stir crazy.
First, right? I'm gonna ask you to help me move some stuff today. Dallin didn't know he was gonna get roped into. Just kidding. I don't have my minivan to make that happen.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I'll help. I'll ask you to help me bring some posters to my car, but that's all. Yeah, like it's gonna be hard working from home for me. I'm not the type of person that enjoys working from home. I really like movement.
Yeah,
your
social battery recharges.
Yes,
by being out, right?
I am an extrovert. Yeah. I am a Type 7 Enneagram. For those who know what the Enneagram is,
I don't.
You don't?
No, I feel like I should though.
Is
it like the INF?
No.
Thing?
No,
okay.
It's way better. It's like it's the ultimate like personality thing.
Yeah.
But it's also not one that you can just like take a quiz, answer these 10 questions, and we'll tell you what type of Enneagram are. You have to like read 5 books and like spend all day at a conference, and then you'll probably know what your Enneagram type is. Anyways, Type 7 tends to be. Wait, what color should we use? Do we have chat?
Yeah, we got chat. We got chat.
First person who says what color they want wins.
Thanks McDeezy for loving our shirts.
Oh, thanks McDeezy. I gotta close that because
it's so distracting.
Purple. Somebody said purple.
Purple. Okay, purple it is. Oh,
purple.
Oh, wait, purple, blue, purple.
Okay, wait. So, do we go?
Maybe we split the difference, like a bluish purple.
That's kind of an indigo. How does that look? Or do I go like more kind of magenta? All right, that's what I'm doing right there.
I think that's good right there. All right.
What was I saying? Oh,
Type
yeah.
7.
Type 7 on the Enneagram. Basically, I am someone who like is future focused and always looking for like how am I going to have fun and like like very sensory focused, like the danger with a Type 7 is to be like gluttonous and avoid pain at all costs. So they don't like pain and discomfort. I mean, nobody does, but they're sort of famous for like no bad feelings,
right.
Like only good feelings, and I don't want to deal with my bad feelings. So that's my work as a Type 7 is to sort of turn towards the hard stuff and the dark emotions. So, anyways,
that actually makes a lot of sense because we're like talking like the Penguin just came out. I'm like, I don't think you'd like it. It's really gritty. It's like mafia and
probably
murder.
Right. Probably right. Yeah, I'm like, okay, nope. I need something a little more Ted Lasso.
Yeah, that's the perfect show.
Yeah,
it really is.
Or maybe it's not what I need. That's what I want.
Yeah.
But maybe what I need is the Penguin.
Oh. I mean, it's pretty good, but.
Anyway,
it's not for everybody. So yeah, how you been?
Good, man. You?
Yeah, I've been all right.
Yeah.
Busy, but
happily
busy.
How's the channel going? You've kind of been doing some videos. I've seen anime stuff.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been fun. We've had some good growth for me at least. Like it's all on a scale, right? So I have like 20 new subs this week, which is not bad at all. So for me, at least at where I'm at, I'm like thumbs up. We're moving in the right direction. So
Right. Nice.
Yeah, it's been fun.
If you enjoy anime, check out Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yes.
Mr.
Rogers reviews everything, but you're welcome to the neighborhood when you get there, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Speaking of like YouTube and algorithm-y things, like we were talking earlier, I cannot for the life of me figure out why. So just this week, and I just noticed this morning, there's been a huge spike in views, watch time on that like 4-hour behemoth, the every change to every class and subclass video that we did early August, like, and I don't know why, and it was like September 23rd, it just like went, and I'm like, what happened on September 23rd? Like, did the books finally arrive in the mail?
Yeah.
Did they release it like in foreign languages where they hadn't before? So if you think you might know the answer, let me know. But it seems like the views increased before YouTube impressions increased. That is, because YouTube tells you like how many impressions they're giving, how many people they're like putting it on the homepage, right? We're showing your video to people on their homepage or whatever. That's called an impression, and it's like the views started to spike and then the impressions increased.
So it's almost like you told YouTube send it, and then it just sent it. But
I don't know.
But like, what triggered that? Yeah, that's so
and the watch time has gone up dramatically. Like the average watch time on that video usually is like 18 minutes because people either click on it and then go no, and they bounce, or they stick around and watch for a while.
Or maybe they're going specifically to the subclass and just watching that 18-minute chunk.
But the average duration, average view duration, average watch time on that video, just in the last 5 days or whatever, is like 2 hours. And that's the average.
That's crazy.
Right? Which is like, what has happened? That like, are there just a bunch of bots out there that are like clicking on the video and letting it run?
It's a conspiracy.
I don't know.
Someone's out there inflating the D&D tube.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. It's just like, I just can't figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So if you think you know, let me know. All right, what else?
We got in chat saying they got their pre-order book in Germany on the 16th, so that's even before that, though.
Yeah. I don't know. Who's watching the TV show on Apple Plus, Bad Monkey? It's so good. It has nothing to do with D&D or even nerd culture in general. But it's on my mind because I just watched the most recent episode last night, and it's so good. If you like Vince Vaughn and or Bill Lawrence, who's the showrunner that did Scrubs, Ted Lasso, Shrinking, like everything he's done, I love. Bad Monkey. It's Vince Vaughn at his Vinciest Vaughniest.
So, like, the most funny Vince Vaughn, or like
just
the most
dry,
dramatic actor
no, the humor. I'm thinking like, the dry humor, like sarcastic, up to his eyeballs, just like, but it's kind of a noir, like crime mystery, but super funny. Anyways, great show. Check it out. Cool. And Arcane is like a month and a half away or something.
Know, but like they're splitting it into like 3 parts, and I think they're coming out like it's
3 at a time,
Act 2,
or
Act
something?
3. I don't know.
Well, they better not make us wait.
But I think
too long.
it's like a couple weeks between. So,
as long as I get multiple episodes, I'm okay. But if it's like 1 episode every 2 weeks, I'm gonna riot. You see what I did there? Riot. They're the creators of League of Legends.
There you go.
That was a pun unintended. Okay. Should we get to some questions?
Let's get to some questions. All right. Over at the Discord, we've got Humongous Profundus.
Humongous. Oh, that's his name. I'm like, is that the question? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Do you still see CME being as big of an outlier as you did before doing the Trickery Cleric build?
Yeah. Maybe worse.
Yeah?
I mean, you guys will see this next week. So, right? You're working on the Blade Singer right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did a Blade Singer. I'm not calling it 4.0. It's probably 4.0, or maybe it's 7.0 at this point. I don't know. Anyways, I did I did a 2024 Blade Singer that's coming out next week, and I really struggled because I was like, do I use Conjure Minor Elementals? It's available, and at the end of the day, I decided to do both. I both. For the rest of my life now, I will be plagued by the way I say both.
I think it's a Utah thing, because ever since I've been like, oh my gosh, I do that too. I just do an L in there. I think it's a Utah accent thing.
Anyways, what was I talking about?
See me.
when I crunched the numbers, I was like, do I take Conjure Minor Elementals? I kind of said with the Valor Bard that I'm like, I don't think I can ever take this spell again because it's so broken, right? But I'm like, every time I look at the spreadsheet, I'm like, Valor Bard. Valor Bard shouldn't be on top. It should be Blade Singer. So I either have to like change the numbers for the Valor Bard and just remove Conjure Minor Elementals as an option, or maybe I'll just include it on the Blade Singer. But I give two sets of numbers. So it's like, okay, if you can take Conjure Minor Elementals and you can sleep at night and look yourself in the mirror by using this spell,
right, then
this is what the numbers look like. And otherwise, this is what the numbers look like. And yeah, it's just, I mean, it's not necessarily a no-brainer, right? The fact that it takes an action to cast is a big deal, because that's, if you had cast, say, Spirit Guardians instead, sure, it does a lot less damage depending on the level. But, if you can cast it as a bonus action and make a couple attacks with it, and then next round you're, making 3 attacks with it, as opposed to Conjure Minor Elementals where you're taking your whole action on that first round to cast it, and then you're not making any attacks until round 2, right? It's like you're probably not taking the lead damage-wise with that spell until round 3.
Right.
Or beyond. And a lot of combat encounters, depending on your table, right, depending on your DM, might only last 3 rounds or 4, right?
Sure.
And so even if the damage is way better, it's not necessarily like, because it's an action to cast, that is a fairly severely limiting factor. But again, depending on the fight. Right. But at the end of the day, the way it scales is problematic. And I've seen people say, well, it should be the same as Spirit Guardians. It should be 1d8 every 2 levels instead of 2d8 every 1 level, right? But if it scaled that poorly, then it would be a terrible spell, I think, because it costs an action to cast it.
Right. So heavily.
I feel like if you're going to do that, then you have to make it a bonus action to cast, or rein that scaling in some, but let it still be strong. So maybe it's just 1d8 per spell level.
Sure.
That might be too much, but maybe not. At least at that point, it kind of makes you go, okay, should I use this spell? Like, how long is this combat encounter going to last, do I think? Etc. Now, then sometimes there's tables, and our table can be this way, where like, if I see combat coming, I might be like, I cast Spirit Guardians, or I'm going to cast the Bless spell, because the bad guy's monologuing, and like, I know where this is going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if rules as written necessarily, but I think, like, if you tried that in an Adventure League table, I think the DM would say, okay, well, roll for initiative. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to take some sort of offensive, threatening action,
sure,
just roll for initiative, and if that's what you want to do on your first turn, fine.
But it takes the place as, like, you're not getting this off before combat
exactly.
is like a free...
Which I understand, and I hate.
Advantage to the player. That's how we rule it in our table.
It's like, I don't know. Maybe that should only be allowed if you've got subtle spell meta magic or something, right? Where they can't really tell you. They can't tell you're casting it until the emanation, the 15-foot emanation of Spirit Guardians shows up, and then they're like, "Whoa, wait, what?" And then you roll initiative. I don't know. Anyways,
chat says 1d6 per spell level. That's their vote. Oh, so sorry, 1d8 still. They're saying, yeah, they're agreeing with you. Sorry, I'm reading multiple things out.
Sure. Yeah, 1d8 per spell level doesn't feel too bad to me, considering that it's an action to cast, but I don't know. It's definitely problematic as is, I think. And especially, like, after 4th level, right? Just as a 5th level spell, it's doing double the damage of Spirit Guardians. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's okay for an action to cast instead of a bonus action. But then as a 6th level spell, it's doing 3 times as much damage as Spirit Guardians. And it gets really out of hand really fast.
Yeah. They're saying, Mike in the chat is saying that, or maybe only applied damage once per turn.
I think if that were to be the case, personally, I would want to see a damage increase, because it's hard to justify, I think, like 2d8 damage once per turn. I mean, that's a divine smite. That's a free divine smite, I suppose. First level divine smite, right? But again, like, if it takes your action and the combat only lasts 3 rounds, you're maybe using it twice, maybe 3 times, maybe 4. Like, that's not a lot of damage, and it's like, I don't think I'd ever cast it in that case. Maybe up leveled, sure. If we're talking 4d8 or 6d8 damage once per turn, okay, well, that's fairly significant. So yeah, I don't know. It would need some tweaking, I think. Maybe it would need to start higher and scale more slowly if it were once per turn. I don't know.
Sure.
Anyways.
Okay, over in the chat, Scott C is asking, he says, I'm working on a Sorcerer build, but debating on if I should take Warlock for my next campaign. Are you planning on doing any predominantly Sorcerer builds soon?
Soon? I don't usually know what I'm going to do for that week until Monday, when I'm actually writing the script. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, I'll sit down most days, most weeks, I'll sit down and I'll spend anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, like, going over my to-do list, my and kind of going, okay, what have I done recently? I want to do something that's not super samey. What's the most interesting to me right now? So I've got some sorcerer ideas on there. I don't necessarily know if that's what I'm going to be working on next week, and it probably will depend on the mood that I'm in, right, when Monday comes. So you'll see sorcerer builds from me for sure. And I would think it would be less than a month before I start working on one, at least. I'm interested in a few things. Like, could a sorcerer gish work that doesn't take extra attack from somewhere? That's tough, but maybe. With 2-weapon fighting, maybe. I'm interested in a Sorlock, so it wouldn't be pure sorcerer, but just a Warlock dip, because there's a lot of fun things you can do with that. And I love the new sorcerer, just the advantage on attack rolls. That's what I'm most interested in trying to build around, if you want to know. That you get advantage on attack rolls that are sorcerer spells. The problem is you can't take Eldritch Blast as a sorcerer spell, right? There's no way, as far as I know, that I can think of off the top of my head, there's no way to take Eldritch Blast and call it a sorcerer spell. So it's like, okay, well then what am I casting? Is it a burst damage, Scorching Ray? Is it, something else? So that's kind of, I think, what I'm most interested in doing with a sorcerer right now.
There you go. Peek behind the curtain of how Colby makes builds.
Yeah.
And thinks about them. All right, let's go over to Discord. Samantha Vimes has a question for you.
Hi, Samantha.
What are your thoughts / expectations surrounding the DMG? Recommended number of fights per day, encounter design changes, new magic items, things like that.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a good question. And as a... I'm the opposite of a forever DM. I'm a never DM. I'm a never nude. Sorry.
Tobias.
I'm a never DM, or almost never DM. I feel like not the best person to answer this question, but what I would love to see, I think the thing that I'm most interested in seeing, I guess I will say, from the DMG is better, more accurate, more refined like encounter creation stuff that is more accurate at how difficult is this fight going to be actually, based on,
like maybe
whatever.
you could import the actual character that is going to be in the combat. It's like, oh, they've got this and this, so they make these adjustments.
And part of that obviously is going to have to do a lot to do with the new monster manual, right? As they make adjustments to CR rating or monster difficulty. But I'd love to see that. I'd love to see not only magic items and new magic items, but like a greater variety of magic items, and maybe magic items geared for a greater variety of play styles. So, like, for example, the original DMG was terrible for monks as far as magic items go, right? There was very little, if anything, in fact, that would augment like unarmed strikes. Right. You got that insignia of the claws from that the Tyranny of Dragons adventure, but that wasn't in the DMG, I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. And the tattoo stuff didn't show up until Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So, like, I want to see like stuff that's specifically going to enhance, your 2-weapon fighters versus your, like, I want to see some double-bladed scimitar stuff in there. Yeah. I want to see like, more than just, And I'm thinking about weapons and strikers and martials, of course. My favorite magic items from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, or my favorite magic items period, I think, for casters are just the boring. I'm just boring. I just like numbers. So it's like anything that's going to like increase my save DC or, increase my attack, whether with a spell or with a weapon. I don't care. Like, that's what I always want. I want a Cloak of Protection. And I want like the magic item from Tasha's that's going to raise my spell DC and my chance to hit with spells. And the reality is, like, the cooler, way more interesting and fun stuff are like the Ring of Ramming and the things that just you can pull it out once in a while and it does something really cool. But I'm boring. And I think not only that, but I tend to look to my class, my species, my subclass, my spell list for those cool, different, unique things. Right. And then I just want my magic items to enhance what I'm already trying to do. That's me.
I mean, that makes sense, especially with the way that you approach playing D&D.
Yeah.
Like, it makes a ton of sense. I think, for me, I'm almost the opposite. I want to see more, like, weird, random stuff that's like...
You want the Gryffindor saddlebag imported into the DMG.
Exactly. Like, give me some more, like... Especially as a DM, where you want to give treasure a lot, but you also don't want to ruin your game.
Sure.
You're like, man, I want you to feel rewarded for
here's
doing
something
this.
fun and flavorful and cool.
Yeah, here's something
that's
fun,
not
flavorful,
necessarily
cool,
going to like screw up my combat encounters from here on out.
Yeah, you're not going to be at level 7 with a +3 sword. Yeah.
Or what was it? What was that sword? Hazaran that Reese got. Yeah, like you don't want to throw a legendary +3 extra
right into the middle of it all.
2d12 of damage greatsword at your level 6 character.
Give me the little piggy bank that goes and picks up the coins.
It's fun and flavorful and cool. Yeah. I get that.
All right, let's take a look at chat. We have a lot of questions in chat. So, someone is asking, is Steel Wind Strike a trap? Can you use it? Is it potentially useful, or is it a trap?
That's a great question. I get so many comments in my videos, depending on the build, obviously, of people saying, I can't believe you didn't take Steel Wind Strike. Like, this is the best spell ever, and it would make this build so good. And I'm always like, Like, I think it's situationally great.
Yeah.
And I do think you could build around it. Because you are specifically making an attack, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
you teleport
like
up to is it up to five or six targets, right? So there's utility there in that you can move around the battlefield. You can do a decent amount of damage to a lot of different targets, and especially I think if you have ways to add damage to attacks, then it can be really quite potent. But it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't have that, if you don't have really great ways to add damage to your attacks, it's a decent, good, in fact, like multi-target damage spell. But other than the teleport, it's not like so much better than like an equally leveled fireball, I think, or a synaptic static that's going to put an awesome debuff on the enemies, right? Stuff like that. So I have on my to-do list, and have had forever on my to-do list, like build around Steel Wind Strike, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Maybe now's a good time. Maybe that Sorcerer build, because it is an attack, right? And if you have advantage on your attack rolls, well, suddenly that is really good. That said, a lot of most multi-target damage spells are going to do half damage on a save.
Right.
And that does a lot of work. Like when you crunch numbers on a thing, right? And say, okay, how much damage can I expect to do with this?
Right.
Like the fact that you can always do, unless they've got damage resistance or damage immunity, right? That you can always expect at least X, like, is massive when you're looking at like total potential damage on average, right? And so save or suck spells are particularly bad for that reason. Disintegrate is potentially devastating, but if they make their save, it does 0 damage, right? That's like
such a
crippling.
Waste. Yeah.
And Steel Wind Strike is similar in that there's no half damage on a save. It's either you hit or you miss.
Right.
Now, granted, depending on your stats, your chance to hit might be higher than the chance of them failing a saving throw.
Sure.
And so that's potentially nice, but still...
You're still going to save.
Yeah. Now, if you're throwing advantage on that chance to hit, that could really change things, right? So, yeah. Something to think about.
Yeah. On my very first character, Akio, I had Steel Wind Strike. And when it worked, you feel like a god.
Yeah.
Just,
when you hit every enemy...
And it's so nice as a wizard to be like... massive damage through a melee attack, and you're like bouncing in and out. It just feels so cool. But I could see, all the potential downsides too. And when it doesn't work and you only hit like one target, it's like such a waste.
Yeah.
But man, it feels good when it works.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go over to chat some more. Let's see. Griffin Saddlebag is great. I also stole from that in BG3, and that they gave monks love. Yeah, no, monks were awesome in BG3, honestly.
Yeah, they were.
All right, let's go over to the Discord question here real quick. Another one from Samantha Vimes. Speaking of BG3, has playing BG3 changed how you think about optimization and build design? If it has, how?
That's a good question. I'll ever think about that for a minute. I think if anything, Baldur's Gate gave me like build envy. You know what I mean? Like there were things in BG3 that you could do that a lot of them I kind of went, this is how it should be, with some of the area of effect things, with a lot of stuff. But the fact that like but that almost maybe just led to frustration that it didn't work that way in 5e. So it didn't necessarily inspire me, I don't think, to try and do a build that way. I'm trying to think if there was anything that like, I went, oh, like seeing this in Baldur's Gate gave me this great idea to try and recreate something in D&D that I hadn't thought about before. I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, like, maybe for the worse, in that because it's so easy in Baldur's Gate 3 to set up before a fight. Yeah. Right? You could pause the game, right, put yourself in turn-based mode, and be like, okay, cast the blessed spell. Cast the blessed spell. Cast, all the self buffs. Get my Spirit Guardians going if you're playing with the 5e spells mod, which I usually did. Get all your buffs going, and rage as a barbarian, whatever. Well, you couldn't do that till you're in combat. Anyways, and then like start the dialogue because the game stayed paused while you were in dialogue mode. And then once combat broke out, because you knew combat was coming, then you lost one turn.
And you're ready to
right?
go.
So now you've got 9 turns left on your buff. You don't need more than that, right? Yeah. And it almost, maybe it spoiled me, and I started thinking like, oh yeah, so like for my D&D build, like, yeah, just take this thing that takes an action to cast and this thing that's a bonus action and blah, 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 blah. No problem. We'll just get it all going before combat starts, and then voila. Although to be fair, I think I did that kind of stuff in my builds before BG3, but maybe BG3 made it worse.
Ben Core in chat says the builds were so specific to magic items in BG3 that you could only get in the game, and I agree. You could really make something around like a particular item. I'm trying to think, like at least like the thief, right? You get that bonus action. That's not an item, but you could build completely around having that extra bonus action,
which you didn't get in D&D.
Yeah, which you didn't get in D&D. So like BG3 was that way in a lot of ways, where you pick something that's unique to the game, build around that. Yeah,
and in fact, like I would almost say the other way around, right? Like that my D&D builds more inspired the BG3 until the end, where I started to kind of go, okay, you know what? There are enough differences between these things that I can focus on the things in BG3. Like I never build around magic items in my D&D builds, but because I don't know what you're going to get, I don't know what you're going to get access to, but in Baldur's Gate 3, it's like, well, no, like just look it up. Like this is where you get this magic item. You go here, you kill this guy, and now you have it, and it's really cool because it does these things. And so we can build characters around that. And my last 3 or 4 BG3 builds, I think, were sort of very specific. Like, okay, like you get these magic items, and you build this way, and then you can do amazing things. Radiant orb stacks times infinity, or etc. You know what? And maybe that will get me back to Samantha's earlier question about the Dungeon Master's Guide, like something that I would love to see there. And just thinking about magic items, I would love to see more like magic items, weapons that did something cool, maybe tied with elemental stuff.
Ooh, like build like some static charge or something.
And do lightning damage that like increases, or like it's a cold weapon, it does cold damage and potentially like freeze them.
Oh yeah.
When you hit them.
Like they have so many times to save where they're frozen or something. Yeah.
Or apply a burning condition, which it looks like they are kind of thinking about at least more conditions along those lines. I'd love to see more stuff like that just opened up some kind of tactics and potential, ways to kind of make things more interesting for a character, might even impact your build. But the problem is, depending on your table, like I don't know if I'm gonna get this magic item, and so it's hard to like build, and I can't respec. At least at most tables you can't respec, so it's not like, oh, I got this cool new magic item, great, I'm gonna go talk to Withers, and now I'm a druid, or whatever. Anyways.
Yeah, Dirty Leviathan in the chat is saying, my players love that I homebrewed the environmental aspects of BG3 in our game. I think that's awesome. Yeah. We with Corey, when we played in our game, we always had sort of these elemental things that were going on. Like, this building is burning, and the fire's coming towards you. That was always the case. Somebody's throwing fireball in a tavern. Or something else. Here's a question from Mike in the chat. I know your channel builds are all about max results, but in your own campaigns, do you ever go with stuff that is cool thematically and less powered, or is that all-out damage?
Are you going to think less of me if I say I always find a way to make an excuse for being more powerful? Gosh. Yeah. I mean, my very first D&D 5e character, Ariana, was a Shadow Monk, and it was because it was cool. Like, the main reason that I took Shadow Monk is because it just felt cool and fun. And I was really frustrated by the mechanics of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was cooler in my head than it was in actual play.
That's such the worst feeling.
And I think that probably had a lasting impact on every other 5e character I've ever brought to any game since. Because it was like, I want to not just have it feel cool in my head. I want it to like actually be cool mechanically.
Yeah.
And like I want the reality to live up to the fantasy.
Yeah.
Right? And without, for me, and this is not everybody, right? But just for me, like the way to achieve that is via like a lot of thought and put into optimization.
Right.
That said, like I do always, I think, find a way to like to take the mechanics of a build and clothe it in a really cool concept and story and character. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it really comes down to there's like almost two approaches to building a character.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one where you come in with the idea in your head first and then try and find the stuff that fits it. Or there's the way like what you do where it's like, let me create everything that I can mechanically.
Yeah.
And then I'll find the flavor
Sure.
to go as just a seasoning, right?
I mean, would I ever play a like 2014 Sunso Monk just because the idea of like shooting lasers out of my fists was really cool, right? Like it's hard for me to imagine doing it outside of a one shot, just because I would get so frustrated with how weak I felt.
Yeah.
Now, that said, of course, you can like talk with your DM and maybe homebrew,
Sure.
right? And or what Corey always would do, but it used to drive us crazy with his brother Scott. Much love to Corey and Scott. Love you guys. I'm sure they're not watching, but if they were, I think Scott, who was not much of an optimizer and who was always like concept first, and I just want to do this because it feels cool and this is my character and my concept.
Thematically what I was thinking about.
Yeah. But then his character would always be like underwhelming and he would get frustrated by that. And then he kept showing up to sessions with like these way overpowered magic items that were like, okay, like, and so now like he's kind of on par with everybody else as far as his effectiveness in combat.
Sure.
And I'm sure that was awesome for him.
Right.
And if I were a better human, it would have been awesome for me too. But since I am a fallible human, I would be like,
come on, man, I worked so hard for this.
like, that feels a little deflating because it's like, well, in that case, like, can I just play a Sunso Monk and you can give me like a +5 to hit and damage on all of my, laser attacks?
And Chad said, work on yourself, sir.
I am. This is me. This is me working on myself. See, I'm acknowledging my weaknesses and I'm trying to confront them. Anyways. Yeah, so that was a long answer to the question, but yeah, I would say I pretty much, ever since that very first character, like I pretty much always go like mechanics first and find a way to build the concept and the story around it.
Yeah, I saw in the chat, it's flown by already at this point, but somebody was saying that mechanics and the thematic piece kind of go hand in hand, and I could actually see that, especially with like a monk, right?
Yeah.
The way that you get all your flurry of blows and everything, like that feels like that's monkey, and like so if you're building for that feels cool and you get to do that. But yeah, if you're not
right,
you don't have the right items or whatever, and especially in 2014 rules, that's terrible.
Well, and to be fair, or maybe I should say, in my defense, I do think that like this whole thing that we're talking about is like a huge part of why I wanted to do this channel in the first place, and I might venture to say why a lot of people who watch enjoy it, because I don't just go, let's build the hardest hitting character that we can build, though I do that too sometimes, right? But a lot of my builds are like, okay, let's take this thing because you want to play this thing because it's cool, but it needs some help on the mechanics aspect. So so let's take this concept or this subclass or this cool weird character idea and see if we can't like raise the floor a little bit here on the mechanics of it. So we're kind of optimizing within the constraints of, you know, a concept or an idea or an underpowered subclass or whatever. And I love to do that. And I think a lot of you guys enjoy that kind of thing too. It probably feels like I'm not doing much of it lately because the 2024 rules are out and they're new, and I'm just like, oh, I have all these new toys. Like, let's build the strongest things that we can with all these new toys. But before long, I'm going to be like, okay, can we build a dance bard that, like, hits really hard, you know, or whatever. I don't know about dance bard. I think in the playtest they were a lot stronger. Now I'm suspicious, but maybe they're better than I think. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So in chat we say that from Soccer Croc, that was actually the reason I didn't used to like Monk, because the optimal way to play is to stun lock them and then punch them 37 times.
That sounds fun.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, definitely goes into the fantasy. All right, I'm going to go over to the Discord. These are some questions that came in after I'd already pulled them, so I got to pull them up on my phone. So give me a second. Okay. So this is from Mick Deasy. What would you do to help Rangers in terms of their lack of exploration-focused skills in 2024? I feel like Ranger doesn't seem like the class you go for anymore, being the leader for the exploration pillar.
That's a good question. You know, the challenge there, I think, is that when you make something too sort of niche but really, really good at that one thing, right? That you run the risk of either having class abilities that never get used, or kind of break the game when they're needed. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I think that was one problem with the 2014 Ranger. You had these like what were they called? Land types.
Oh yeah, your
favorite terrain. Favorite terrain that said things like that gave you these benefits
never be lost in the city.
That almost never came up in game, right? But if and when you really needed them, like if you were playing the Tomb of Annihilation,
right,
and you took your favorite terrain as jungle, like a big part of that campaign, I haven't played it, but talking to Preston, a big part of that campaign is like trying to navigate your way through the jungle, and it's challenging, and you're getting lost all the time, and like you're having these random encounters. But if you have a ranger and that's their favorite terrain, then it just like trivialized this whole thing, right? And so it's like, how do you do this in a way that like doesn't run that risk of trivializing, but then still feels useful? I think you've got to just kind of keep the abilities a little more general, so that the DM doesn't feel sort of constrained by them, either to try and find a way to include them or to try and find a way to avoid them, but not make them so powerful that it can trivialize content. So yeah, to me it's like maybe just another extra bump to their survival skill or something like that, where like that's going to come up, right? If a DM is like you're in the wild and you're running the risk of you're trying to track somebody and you're running the risk of getting lost or whatever, like maybe expertise is enough, but maybe not. Maybe you could even give them something in addition. Maybe you could give them a bonus based on their ranger level. That might be too much, but
for only ranger abilities. Get an extra D4 on something.
Or something. And I don't hate the idea of having favored foes and favored terrains, but again, the problem is, you know, you kind of have to sit down in a session 0 and be like, okay, what terrains are we going to be in? Right. Okay, Arctic and desert, check. That's what I'm going to pick. Or being like, no, that's metagaming. I'm just going to take the grasslands, and then you're never in the grasslands your whole campaign, and you're just like, why did I take that? That was stupid.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest problems, not just with Ranger, but exploration in general in D&D. Is there's like so few ways that it gets implemented normally without like the DM like kind of either homebrewing something and putting it on the game, or running like Tomb of Annihilation or something where it's more heavily featured. Yeah, it just feels like kind of a underutilized portion of the game, or not all the way realized portion of the game.
So I don't mind, like, I wouldn't be opposed to giving them a little more love in the exploration realm. I just would say they'd need to do it in a general enough way that it wouldn't feel like you could make a bad choice.
Right.
And also do it in a way that's not going to trivialize content. Otherwise, it can't be so good. Right, that now exploration is just, oh, we have a ranger, so we win. Like, now exploration is, there's no challenge, right? Yeah, that's tough, but I think it would probably just come in the form of maybe little extra bumps to, important skills like survival, nature, maybe animal handling, right, things like that.
In the chat, they say just melt the ranger into the fighter class as a subclass.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that suggested before, and it's not a terrible idea. Actually, I don't think. The problem is, it's like some people want to play a Beastmaster Ranger, and some people want to play a Hunter. And can you do that all in one subclass? Like, what if I don't want a beast? What if I don't want a pet? Maybe the Ranger gets spells still, and they have nature-y spells, and that's how you satisfy that, right? Oh, I can cast summon beast, and now I'm a Beastmaster.
Sure.
Stuff like that. I don't know, but no.
Justin in the chat says, as a forever DM, I use a lot of your builds as inspirations for adversaries for my PCs. I just have to be careful because most of my players are not optimizers, and I'm not trying to TPK them.
Sorry, players. Here's the good news. A lot of my builds are glass cannons, and or have like terrible saving throws in some aspect. You know what I mean? I rarely build them well rounded, at least for the spreadsheet. I'll usually be like, okay, look, beholden to the spreadsheet. Right. This is damage above all. This is how I do it. But if it were actually me playing this character in game, I might make a different choice here. But if you were to just build it like exactly as I lay it out in the build, it's like, oh well, like just hit them with a wisdom save that they're almost guaranteed to fail, and mind control them, or paralyze them or something. Of course, if it's a high level boss, maybe they have legendary resistance. I don't know, but yeah, that's funny.
I realized we never did like a postmortem on the one shot we just played.
Right. I have been getting a lot of questions.
Yeah.
People have been saying, "Hey, because at the end of the Beastmaster
the one
video,
that just came out.
I was like, oh, I might play this, or maybe I'll play the cleric in the one shot."
Yeah.
Ask me in the comments, and a lot of people saying, "Oh, which did you play? How did it go?" So yeah, I did the trickery cleric.
Yeah.
And Dallin played the elemental monk. And it was awesome.
It was so fun.
Like we just destroyed everything. Like I did get low on health once or twice.
I don't think you got hit. Single hit.
Because I was like,
you were just
in there up in everybody's face,
and I was just
running
around,
and you're kind of standing back, like pulling them in and pushing them in. Yeah, we destroyed stuff, and we actually ended up fighting a lot of undead that had radiant vulnerability, and so it was even more. One thing I will say, as far as a postmortem goes, the whole shtick for that build was to like use your movement and then hold your action and use your movement as a reaction, right? And thereby double damage. The few times that I did that, I didn't get much out of it. Because, and now part of this was probably because there were only two of us.
Sure.
If we would have had 4 or 5 players at our table, the monsters might have spread out a little bit more.
I think so.
Right? But as it was, like, I was in the front, you were kind of in the back, I would move up, do damage, and then I'd back off.
Right.
Thinking I'm going to use my reaction and do that again. But then on the monster's turn, they would just run up to me and attack me because there wasn't really a better option for them.
Yeah.
And so they were taking double damage around anyways. And so I think by the end I was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to be casting cantrips with my spells because I don't need to use my reaction to move to hit everybody with this twice because I'm just hitting them anyways.
Yeah, I think you're right. If there was even just one more player to kind of help pull the battlefield a little bit.
But yeah, it was really good and fun, and I think maybe we can. Here's an exclusive reveal for platinum members. So a lot of you are familiar with CMCC Builds, I think is the name of the channel. He does the gauntlet. He's got this gauntlet, right, that basically is built to like test player builds and see like how good they are, and it's kind of these predetermined fights. And you could run it by yourself, or you could run it with a DM. And he's been putting out videos of people running the gauntlet. Chris Treant Monk has done it a couple times. Other people have. I think Pack Tactics has. Anyways, he's been asking me for a while to do it, and I'm getting a lot of commenters asking me to do it. And I think finally we're gonna do one next month. I wanted to coordinate it with you guys because I don't want to do it by myself. But like if Preston and Dallin can play too, great. So we're gonna do a 3-person gauntlet run. And I think our plan is to do 1 cleric with spirit guardians, 1 druid with conjure woodland beings, which is essentially the same spell, smaller radius, little more damage.
Yeah.
And then probably just an elemental monk.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna have like these 2 meat grinders, stay close together, just going around like tearing everything up, and then 1 monk kind of hopefully, anyways, is staying mostly out of harm's way and pushing and pulling the bad guys into the double whammy of those spells. And yeah, I don't know, it should be fun. We'll see. Yeah.
The thing that I realized with the monk is just, one, their movement is actually super important in that type of setup, especially. Yeah. Having that extra move speed to be able to get around
into position,
people, to be able to kick them in and not waste a turn, just felt so freaking good.
Yeah.
And then the elemental monk just being able to be like, I'm doing every punch is fire this time.
Yeah.
And then you hit them and they're like, oh yeah, they're weak to fire. Boom, I'm just
unloading. Sometimes you ran into, they have resistance to that damage type.
I'm going to switch over to...
change it to something else next time. Yeah, that was cool.
It's just a lot of fun. All right, let's go back over to the Discord. Okay. We've got another... Oh, there's another one from McDeezy. What's your favorite trail in Utah? Saw that you did Sardine Peak and Flag Rock recently.
Yes. Just yesterday. Somebody follows me on Instagram. That's interesting. And I'm fine with that, by the way. I don't try and keep my Instagram like friends and family only or anything like that. But I also don't advertise it. Yeah. And so somehow people find me, which is fine, but I'm like, I wonder how they found me. Because I have a lot of Instagram followers now that I don't know personally. I think it might be from Randall Hampton, actually. Because Randall will post his artwork for the builds, right, on his Instagram account. Gotcha. And then a lot of the times, if it was something that he did for one of my videos, he'll tag me, which is fine. Anyways. So, yes, fall in Utah is gorgeous. For those who don't know.
It's like why you should live here.
And it doesn't last long in the mountains. Like late September and you get 1 week, maybe 2. Yeah. The reds and oranges come in like end of September, and then the aspens go yellow at the beginning of October, and then it just goes brown. Like by mid-October, it's pretty much just done. Yeah. But then it kind of comes down into the valley, and you get some more color in the valleys. But anyways. And yeah, I've been hiking and biking with my kids this week, and it's been a lot of fun. I did Flag Rock, which is really close here, with my daughter on Monday, and then Sardine Peak up near Ogden yesterday with my son. And gosh, what are my favorite trails? There's so many good ones. Adams Canyon is great. The waterfall at the top of that
literally
is
like
right out your door. Yeah, anything up big or little Cottonwood Canyons, great for both skiing and hiking. Lake Catherine is really pretty. Timpanogos. I got to throw out Mount Timp if you're up for a big one.
A big one,
right?
Yep. You got to do the cave tour too.
Yeah.
Just go all the way. Go to the cave.
Yeah, Timp is awesome, and right now actually would be really awesome for Mount Timp because the yellows will just be starting to come in. Those aspens, maybe next week would be peak probably. I might have to go do Timp next week. I don't have time. It's a big commitment. It's a 7-hour hike if you're making good time. Anyways.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful here. You
Yeah.
can't beat fall here. I mean, maybe Connecticut.
Maybe I've been
Vermont.
I've been to New England in the fall, and yeah, you can beat it, but but you can't beat like the mountain biking / hiking / rock climbing / skiing. Like I know there are other mountainous places in the world, but Utah has the best skiing. Sorry, I'll argue with anybody who says otherwise. Okay, that was a tangent.
All right, now next Discord question comes from Dirty Leviathan. What's your 3 to 5 favorite subclasses since 2024? They say theirs is still the Illusion School of Illusion Wizard.
Okay, so of the 2024 of the subclasses that are in the 2024 handbook, Shadow Monk, Elemental Monk, Open Hand, Warrior of the Hand Monk. What's the other? Okay, let's see. Seriously, Elemental Monk is for sure got to be in there, I think, because they are just so much better. But I still... Maybe I wasn't kidding. I still love the other monk subclasses too, because ninjas are awesome, and kung fu masters are awesome. I probably would put at least open hand monk in there, but I want to put shadow monk in there too. But then that's just stupid. You know what? Wild magic sorcerer.
Yeah.
Like, they are so much better now. I really want to play one, and I'm sad that in our one shot. We were only level 7, and so I couldn't get Spirit Guardians and Wild Magic Sorcery. Because I wanted to play with that.
That would have been
for the first time in my life, I wanted to play with that. Because even though bad stuff can still happen, it's much less likely. And the fact that you have control over kind of when you get to roll on the magic table, the Wild Magic Surge table a lot more. I really want to check it out.
McDeezy in the chat saying they got to play test it, and it's so much fun.
Wild Magic?
Yeah.
Nice. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's interesting because when I first started playing D&D, way back when I was 13 or whatever, 12, Wizard, I was always a magic user.
Yeah.
And I loved just the straight up robe wearing, I stand in the back, I've got a magic staff and I cast spells kind of character.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I've sort of fallen out of love with that. I don't know why. But that doesn't feel super interesting to me to just be like a spell slinger anymore. And so none of the wizard or even sorcerer really subclasses really call my name. Yeah, I don't know. So because there's no Blade Singer in the 2024, you know what I mean? So I just think the Illusionist does look really cool and they got a lot of love. But it's not the Trickery Domain Cleric.
Yeah.
Really Valor Bard, anything Gishy. Yeah. I would and I guess I would include as a last one, I'm probably over 5 now, but the Devotion Pally. I know my first Pally was Vengeance, and I did it mostly because I wanted to highlight how good 2-weapon fighting was.
Right.
But I think my next Paladin is going to be a Devotion Paladin, because I feel like they fill the archetype of what a Paladin should be a little better for me, and I am so in love with their Channel Divinity that you can just activate it when you want it to, and adds your charisma bonus to hit. And so of course I have to take a Warlock dip because I gotta get Pact of the Blade now,
Warlock Paladin,
because it's so easy, and then you have that awesome plus to your charisma to hit, and you're using charisma to hit in the first place, and to damage. It's so good.
So you're a paladin that's extremely devoted to your patron.
Yeah.
And that's how you get your...
Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe I'm gonna be maybe I'm on the path to being a Celestial Warlock. I just never quite get my subclass now.
Ooh, there you go.
Anyways.
All right. Well, it is 3.
Oh, okay.
But let's go out with one last... let's do your top 3 spells in D&D. Put you on the spot.
Top 3 spells.
So there's a lot of spells. And there's a lot of good spells.
Shadow Blade.
All right.
Surprising no one. I just wish that there were. I wish that it would scale in more than just damage. I wish that like maybe when you upcast it, it would increase in damage and like hit chance or something. But that would probably be too powerful. I don't know. They might have to scale back the damage in that case.
This is hard, huh?
I just like again. I'm just. You guys know me. Like I just go to like what like the Gishy spells that are good for Gishes because that's what I love, right? So like I love the new mirror image. Oh, it's so good. Like it's so much better, and I love the idea of just like giving yourself this awesome like defensive buff wading into melee. I don't know. It's not like the conjure stuff.
Yeah.
It's not the stuff that just adds to your hit damage because that's boring even though I like using them.
Yeah.
I mean, Wall of Force is way overpowered. I don't know about overpowered, but really good. You know what? I'm just gonna throw out like Synaptic Static.
Ooh,
I love that spell so much because it's an intelligence save. It does really good damage and like has this awesome debuff that there almost no enemy is gonna resist. And so like it makes me feel less guilty for like using a high level spell to do damage when it also gets a debuff overrider, right? I don't have to worry about the naysayers in the comments being like, dude, nobody would use a 7th level spell to cast Fireball. That's a waste. You could do Force Cage or Mass Suggestion or whatever. And it's like, well, but what if I do a bunch of damage and then I give them a big debuff so that it's hard for them to do stuff? Then it's like, okay, fine. Fine, you can do your damage.
Chat says jump, bless, and then Mike says we all know your number one favorite is find traps.
Funny joke about find traps. So in my in my 5e infancy and YouTube channel infancy, some of you may know this. Put a skull and crossbones in the chat if you remember this or watched this video, but you have to be honest. It was in one of my earlier videos. I don't remember which one it was. And I was, at level whatever, you get level 2 spells. And, here's some good ones to consider. And I mentioned find traps. And not unironically.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I read the text very closely.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, this can be great to like, if you don't have a rogue in your party, can really help you something. I got so many people in the comments that were like, you moron, find traps is the worst spell ever.
I'm just a baby.
I was like, maybe I need to go read the text of that spell a little more closely. It doesn't actually help you find traps. It just lets you know that they're there.
We've got one skull and crossbones.
Just one. Cheers to you. Who was it?
Justin Roby.
Justin. Yeah, I don't even remember the build. It was early, but yeah, I just remember the comments and being like, oh crap,
man, I tried so hard. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
all right, I think that does it. We're 5 over. So.
Okay. Thanks for this. Thanks, you guys. Sorry if we didn't get to your question or whatever. Just remind us. Like you can repost it in the Discord and just say, hey, you forgot mine or whatever.
You sad to say goodbye to this place?
I am. It's been good to me, but change is good. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm just circling back as a Type 7 Enneagram. I do crave, and as a Taurus, oh boy, now I'm mixing and matching my personality things. I like stability,
sure,
and I like routine, and I like to break the routine and to mix things up. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a change. I'm actually, this is more than anybody asked, but for the new office, I'm thinking about having so my sister does like interior design stuff.
Yeah.
And I've kind of shown her some videos and some images. I'm like, could you help me like turn this room into something that feels kind of like a medieval tavern a little bit? And she's like, yeah, I think I could. So
Nice.
I think initially I'm going to have a similar setup to this when I'm in the new place at home. But before too long, I think I might have a different backdrop.
Yeah.
Where I've got
So cool.
where I've got kind of it's just going to be kind of some wood, like maybe some shelves with kind of some lighting, and my desk is going to be kind of a wood desk, so it might hopefully look a little bit like a bar, like a counter. And I might even do something cheesy where at least one time I think I got to try like walking in off the camera, like polishing a mug, you know, and being like, hey, traveler, like, how's it going? You know,
I got to show you this TikTok channel. There's this guy.
I know it.
You know it?
It's my inspiration.
Yeah. Amazing channel.
Yes.
I love the content.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do something like that. Maybe you can have him on one time or something.
That would be cool.
He can guest drink mixologist.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever they're called.
Yeah.
In your
But
in
yeah,
your
I'm
studio.
kind of like, that would be cool to kind of have a little bit more of a medieval tavern vibe.
There you go.
So look to that. And you know what, actually? Sorry, I know we're over. Feel free to leave. Let me ask you guys this. I wasn't planning on doing this, but you guys are my platinum members and are my biggest supporters. So I will get your opinion on something. I'm going to ask you a question.
Here we go.
We've talked about this, but I want to know what you guys would think. So I've been thinking for a while that I might want to change up the way I do memberships, and have it so that I just open up like all of the channel member benefits to everybody, regardless of what level you are. And the main reason that I want to do that is because it just feels like friendly. It just feels like, I don't know. It's not like an oligarchy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, hey, look, if you can support me at any level that you feel like you can support me at, thank you, and here are all the benefits that you get, right? I feel like it would also bring more people into the Discord and maybe make that a little bit more, you know, active and vibrant than it is right now. And these Q&A, you know, monthly Q&As would have more people and, you know, comments and chat happening. I have two fears about doing this. One is that it would potentially upset or alienate the people who have been at, you know, a platinum level or whatever for a while and feel like, oh, like I kind of liked feeling like I was in sort of like maybe a little bit more exclusive club. You know what I mean? And I'm sensitive to that, and I don't want to make people feel like, oh, like, I don't know. But also, and this is more financial and selfish, like I do worry that everybody would be like, oh, great, everyone drops down to the lowest tier then. And that's significantly detrimental to me and actually you even a little bit financially. And so if I did that, I would probably add a tier, like a diamond tier or something, and just say, I don't even know, it's $25 a month. I don't know. It'd just be like, hey, like you have a little bit more like income to play around with, and you just want to support the channel at a higher level, but you don't actually get anything for it. And maybe that could potentially counter, you know, the people that go down to a lower tier. So I don't know. I'd be curious to know your guys' thoughts on that. And I'm not saying that like we're gonna put it to a vote and I'm just gonna make a decision based on what everybody thinks. But yeah, I'm rarely one to make a decision by myself. I always like to collect a lot of feedback before I do stuff, and so that's just me.
Here's
getting
what the
some
chat
feedback.
says so far. Fine by me. I'm not an elitist. And then they say, I agree with Mike, who said he's not an elitist.
Yeah.
I get it. That doesn't sound too bad. That's how it used to be. I'm all in for that. I won't change my membership. So
thank you.
Here to support the channel, not to get perks, and I'll support with Platinum either way. So, and then Soccer Croc saying it'd probably help the channel if more people were incentivized to support. So
yeah,
I think so too. I mean, yeah, you might lose some going down, but I think you'd gain more.
Sure.
And granted, you'd have to gain way more to offset.
Yeah,
but.
yeah. Well, hey, if you don't think that's a great idea, don't be afraid to say as much either. Like I'm not, I don't want anybody to feel like they don't want to say that they think that'd be a bad idea, because then people are going to think they're an elitist. Do you know what I mean? Like I get it, and yes, I'm that's kind of my motivation for wanting to do it. But I also don't want to cast shade on anybody who might like feeling like they're kind of a part of a maybe a more smaller group, tight knit group. Whatever. Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for that feedback. And, if I do make that change, I'll let you know. I don't think it would happen until the beginning of the year, probably, just because there's a lot going on right now and holidays coming up, and it's just stuff. And also though, I think I'd probably have to eliminate the copper level, the lowest. It's just like the $1 a month. There's no perks. You don't get any perks right now at copper level. Yeah. And I don't have a lot of copper members. But it's like, if I said you get all, like most of my members right now are silver, and I just like if half of them dropped down to copper, that would be like, oh
yeah, bad.
I'm in trouble. So I might
just make like silver.
I might just eliminate, and then I would feel bad, because those that are copper members, I'd be like, sorry guys, like, if you want to increase your membership, then you can get the perks. But I'm just
this sounds like Disney Plus.
I'm just getting rid of this level completely. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. That's what I have to kind of try and figure out. Yeah. I guess I could say at silver and above, you get all the perks.
Yeah, and then they could just keep not getting perks.
Yeah.
And then they're not getting perks anyway.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't be kicking them out. But it just feels less egalitarian to go that route. Like, I want to open it up to everybody except you.
Except the coppers.
Except the unwashed masses. Everybody else, so it just feels, sure. I don't know. I'd have to figure out how anyways. You guys are awesome. I love you. Thank you so much for being here, for your support, for the chat. And, say goodbye to the old Station Park studio. It's been good to me, but I don't know. We'll be recording. We'll be going live from my house next time.
All right.
So we'll see you then.
It'll probably be a little bit less squishy. Our heights will be the actual heights. Do you think?
No, the bedroom is, I think, smaller than this room. Actually,
we're gonna get real cozy, and our heights might be wrong still.
All right. Have a good one. Enjoy the fall. Get outside. And yeah, you guys are awesome. See ya.
Bye. See ya.